and every other person on the platform this morning. Good morning and welcome to a brand new week. All right, so we're starting straight away. So today is Monday, the 27th of October, 2025.
Lord Howdy.
Kindly mute your device as you're joining this analysis session. All right. Good morning, Madam Onaji Oluwatoba Adeogun, AGK, and many others. All right. So we'll start as usual with our fundamentals, then we'll go to the technicals. So on the fundamentals, today, Monday, 9:15 a.m., this is going to be an important event, though it may not be tradable, but there could be some volatility in the market. That's 9:15 a.m. Reserve Bank of Australia Governor Bullock is going to give a speech, and that's from Australia. So please take note with the Australian peers by that time. That's just roughly about 2 hours from now. Be careful with the Australian peers. There could be volatility due to the speech from the RBA Governor Bullock. And at 10 a.m. this morning, there'll be German IFO business climate from the Eurozone. It's a medium impact event. And tomorrow, Tuesday, we have just two medium impact events. That's a Richmond Manufacturing Index from the United States and the CB Consumer Confidence also from the United States. That's from 3 p.m. tomorrow. On Wednesday is loaded with a lot of activities for this week. And I think it's the day with the highest number of trading as in fundamental. Okay, Thursday is the same too. All right. On Wednesday by 1:30 a.m., there'll be CPI quarterly from Australia, CPI quarterly and CPI yearly from Australia by 1:30 a.m. and also the trimmed mean CPI. All of them takes place at 1:30 a.m. You might either stay away to trade or wake up early to trade this important event if you want to. Volatility is always expected, on this particular event. So take note of that. And the other important event on Wednesday will be 2:45 p.m. when we have the Bank of Canada monetary policy report, Bank of Canada rate statement, and overnight rate all coming up by 2:45 p.m. on Wednesday. The other important event on Wednesday will be FOMC, the main FOMC. FOMC stands for Federal Open Market Committee, and that's the committee in charge of interest rate in the United States. So by 7 p.m. on Wednesday, there'll be federal funds rate, FOMC statements, and FOMC press conference, all from the United States by 7 p.m. Now, this will impact heavily upon the United States dollar, so please take note of that event. And on Thursday, the key event on Thursday, there's going to be JPY, Bank of Japan policy rate, monetary policy statement, Bank of Japan outlook report, and Bank of Japan press conference. Now, as at this moment, the time is tentative, meaning no specific time has been allotted yet, meaning it could take place any time of the day. So I want us to be very cautious of the JPY pairs, especially on Thursday. I want you to take note of that. We are going to be cautious of the JPY pairs on Thursday. But then the other important event that could move the market on Thursday, we're going to have the main refinancing rate, monetary policy statement, and ECB press conference from the Eurozone between 2:15 p.m. and 2:45 p.m. And finally, on Friday, the key event on Friday is going to be the GDP from Canada by 1:30 p.m. on Friday. It's a high impact event. Volatility is expected. Though that same 1:30 p.m., there are other news events that will be released from the United States. That's a core PCE price index and the employment cost index. Pardon me, it's actually tentative. The USD is actually tentative, while Canada is specific 1:30 p.m. for GDP. For the United States, core PCE price index and employment cost index is still tentative, meaning the time is yet to be fixed. But then we never can tell. Before the week runs out, we might get the actual time for this event. So these are the main events we should put our attention on for this week. and we expect volatility on all instruments all the specific news events that I've mentioned. All right, so with that being said, I'm going to switch over now to the chart for us to see what we have in the market for this particular week. So I'm switching over now to my MetaTrader chart, and there are quite a number of interesting setup to watch out for this week. Now, the first one I'll be talking about is the USD JPY, and I'm looking closely at the USD JPY for this week. Now, this is the USD JPY. If you go down to the weekly time frame, we can clearly see that we have a descending trend line on the weekly time frame. You can see price making a series of lower highs, and we should get a further bearish direction in the course of this week, technically speaking. Technically speaking, we anticipate a bearish movement on the USD JPY on the weekly time frame, but then we need to take it down to the daily. Now, on the daily time frame, we can clearly see that price is at a resistance point. So we have a descending trend line and we have a valid, resistance. The last week candle closed very close to the tip of that resistance, but now this morning is getting clearer that we are on that resistance level, and we can take it down to the 4 hour and finally the 1 hour time frame. Now, on the 1 hour time frame, we're going to be anticipating a reversal in this price pattern this week, because price is at a confluence. A confluence is a region right here where the trend line meets the resistance line, and also we have a rising wedge pattern. So you can see the last 1 hour candle was actually a rejection candle, and currently we are having what looks a lot like a shooting star. If this candle completes by 8 a.m. this morning in this manner, that will be a confirmation of a shooting star, which is equally an indication of a potential reversal on the USD JPY. So technically, I hold a bearish outlook on the USD JPY for this week, and it may trigger in the course of today. So we're bearish on the USD JPY. And looking at the profit potential of this move, if it works out just as analyzed, we'll see that price could potentially move to as much as about 46 pips to Fibonacci 23.6, as much as about 100 pips to Fibonacci 38.2, and about 149, 150 pips to Fibonacci 50. At least we have a move potentially in the range of 40 to 150 pips to catch on the USD JPY this week. So watch closely. Now, what will be the entry criteria for this move? As usual, we're going to be looking at price breaking out below the lower trend line, and afterwards, we're going to be looking at our RSI clearly below 50. Now, once we've been able to achieve this, we are free to take a sell on the USD JPY. So we're bearish on the USD JPY. Watch this closely in the course of this week. Now, this is one of the reasons why we should pay a lot of attention to the news from Japan coming up, on Thursday, because I'm seeing a lot of JPYs, trying to go in the bearish direction this week. Because the next one I'll talk about now will be the CAD JPY, and also I'll look at the Euro JPY, and all of them is having that bearish outlook. All right, so we're bearish on the USD JPY. Like I said, we're equally bearish on the CAD JPY. Now, for the CAD JPY, it's also a similar kind of setup to what we have on the USD JPY. In fact, this one, we have a resistance on the weekly time frame, which is still in effect on the daily. We still have a valid resistance on the daily time frame, and the price is back to that daily resistance. In fact, there's an omission from what I did on the USD JPY. We're also seeing what may look like a double top pattern trying to form, though that is still in a way bigger picture. But at least from what we're seeing now, price is back to the resistance on the daily time frame, and on 1 hour, we have our rising wedge pattern. So we're going to be looking out again for a breakout of price, below this pattern to trigger a sell. RSI below 50 will be our confirmation. Just wait for a new candle to break out. then look at your RSI below 50, and you're good to go with the CAD JPY. So we're bearish on the CAD JPY likewise. And also, like I mentioned, the Euro JPY is another one. So watch out for these three from today. They are all intraday setup. So meaning it could trigger in the course of today. They are all 1 hour setup. So they are not, yeah, it could end up spanning like a day plus, but then that one now will be a function of your personal strategy. You may just catch some 20, 30, 50 pips and you are out of the trade if that works for you. Now for the Euro JPY, this one is on a bigger picture. I had to go even on a much more robust charting platform like TradingView. On the 3 month, time frame, there's actually a descending trend line that projects beyond what the MT4 could give, way downwards. So there's still another lower high beyond this area, and we have our confluence zone at the upper part right here. So technically, we are still also looking for a bearish movement on the Euro JPY. So I'll just switch over to 1 hour time frame because of time. So like the US JPY and the CAD JPY, we're anticipating a breakout again to the bearish direction, and we'll confirm with our RSI clearly below 50. So we're also bearish on the Euro JPY. Please watch out for all these three in the course of this week. Now, the next instrument I'm going to look out for, I'm going to analyze is the GBP AUD. The GBP AUD. All right, so this is the GBP AUD. On the weekly time frame, we can see that price is making a series of higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. So the next wave of movement should be to the upside. And coincidentally, price is now at a point where the trend line meets up a previous key level, a previous resistance over there, turned support, turned support. So technically, we are looking for an uptrend again because of the confluence we are seeing on this instrument on the weekly time frame. So we'll come over to the 1 hour, and on the 1 hour, we're having a falling wedge pattern. This still remains a confluence zone, and we're going to be expecting a breakout to the upside from that region. And again, our final confirmation will be our RSI, above 50 this time around because we're looking for a bullish breakout. So we're bullish on the GBP AUD for this week. You can see, even though it's a weekly analysis, but most of the ones I've analyzed so far, entry will be on 1 hour. So please take note. That means they could trigger even from today. We are bullish on the GBP AUD. The next instrument I'm looking at is the US oil. The US oil. That's the USO USD, if you want to call it that. Now, this particular instrument, price has been in a downtrend from the daily time frame. You can see price trending downwards, making a series of lower highs. Then also we have a support, 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 turned resistance, and finally this area becomes the confluence where we have the trend line and the support resistance meet. And coincidentally, that region also, the market closed last week with a rejection candle, a bearish rejection candle. So technically, we're going to be looking for a downside movement for this week. Now, this is going to be like a short-term bearish movement, because on the bigger picture, I'm seeing the formation of what looks a lot like an inverse head and shoulder and possibly a breakout. But then before that big picture happens, price needs to complete the second shoulder, and that's actually our concern for this week. Price needs to drop downwards to complete the second shoulder. That is our own focus for this week. So that's on the daily time frame. Again, we'll go down to 1 hour. Now, on the 1 hour time frame, I'm seeing the formation of what looks a lot like a head and shoulder, which would trigger the downward movement. The neckline will be this region right here. So in the course of today or anytime soon, if price breaks out below that neckline, again with your RSI clearly below 50, you're free to trigger a sell on the US oil. So we're bearish on the US oil for this week. And I'll look now at the BTC USD. Oh, the move already happened. I actually saw this yesterday. It was a symmetrical triangle. Uh, it was a breakout to the upside or downside, but you can see it already broke out to the upside when the market opened for the week, which was late last night. It's already moved over 300 pips already, hitting the potential level I expected it to get to if it broke out to the upside. So that one is gone. That one is gone. But then that's why we do all this analysis. Like I always say, this analysis session is actually also a kind of a mentorship session. And that's why I encourage you not to miss it, because we'll show you exactly what we do, how we trade, and you can replicate the same thing by yourself. You can replicate it by yourself and get exactly the same result. All right, so that one is gone. So let's look for another instrument. Uh, let's look for another instrument, possibly to replace it. Okay. Um, I'm coming. Let me just do a little confirmation. All right. Yeah, GBP NZD it works is actually positively correlated to the GBP AUD. We are bullish on the GBP AUD. Remember some minutes ago I said we are bullish. That's a falling wedge on a confluence zone of a trend line and resistance to support from the weekly time frame. Now, likewise, also the GBP NZD. For this one, we have a rising wedge pattern on the daily time frame. Price here making lower high, higher low rather, and a third higher low here. Now, price, has done a series of higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. The next wave of movement should be a higher high. So we have a support also meeting the trend line at that point. Now, price, as of last night, this was a candle. I expected price to drop to this support zone and this confluence zone, and that has happened. So the next wave of movement now will be to the upside. It's going to be to the upside for the GBP NZD. So we can go to the 1 hour and see how we can capture the move. All right, so we have a falling wedge pattern on the 1 hour, and we'll look at taking a buy if price breaks out to the upside, RSI above 50. So we're bullish on the GBP NZD, just like we're bullish on the GBP AUD. All right, I think that'll be all from my end this morning. That'll be all from my end this morning. If you have any instruments you want me to analyze, please let me know. I'll do a little recap. We are bearish on the USD JPY on 1 hour. We're bearish on the Euro JPY on 1 hour. We're bearish on the CAD JPY likewise on 1 hour. We're bullish on the GBP AUD on 1 hour. We're bullish on the GBP NZD on 1 hour. And for the US oil, we are bearish on 1 hour. So I've analyzed about six assets for us this morning, which we can put our attention on as the week evolves. Oluwatoba Adeogun is asking me to check gold. All right. Now, I always tell us the analysis I do, they are the grade 1 analysis. Any other one after that, you're just trying to see whether it's going to work or not. Now, gold is, let me check. Yeah, I mentioned last week, Friday, that price is back to the uptrend. It's still trending up. Now price is back to that previous support. Yeah, just support, resistance on support rather, and still on the trend line. There is a possibility of an uptrend, though the previous candles I'm seeing is not showing sign of potential volatility, but notwithstanding, gold is to be traded with caution. I always say that at this point, trade gold with so much caution, except you are doing long-term trading. Let me say swing trading. If it's intraday, trade gold with a lot of caution. Now, I've established a falling wedge pattern and price seems to have broken out, but then there's still a range. There's a range around that region. I'm seeing what looks a lot like possibly trying to form an inverse head and shoulder. If it works out fine like that, that may trigger a move to the upside. So what I'll do is I'll put the range box up there. This is the 15 minutes time frame. All right. So if a new candle opens above this level, you may trigger a buy on gold. RSI is already above 50. MACD is also about to cross above 0. So you just need a new candle to break out of the range. Let there be a clear candle breaking above the range before you trigger a buy on gold. So I'll take a bullish one on gold. Arinze Raphael, please send me another chat, please. Sometimes a lot of chats enter my phone and it may drop, as the recent ones may make the last one to drop downwards. Yeah.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, ma.
You're welcome into the new week.
You too, ma.
Sir, this analysis you make on 15 minutes.
Yes.
Do we necessarily have to take the trade on that 15 minutes, or we can, if you are more comfortable with 1 hour, wait for it to trigger at 1 hour before taking the trade? Sorry, sir. Because I actually get confused at times. That's why I want to clear my mind.
Well, the thing is that sometimes some setup, you have to go in between time frames to see where you have a clearer entry point. If your own comfortable time frame for entry is 1 hour and you are not having clear entry on that 1 hour, I will advise to ignore, because on 1 hour here is not giving me any serious clarity on 1 hour. But 15 minutes is clearer. But if that 15 minutes is too small for you, please ignore. I've analyzed about 6 other assets you can trade. That's why I don't encourage to get hung on just one instrument. If one is not giving you the kind of clarity, look for another one.
Okay. So if the setup is on 15 minutes,
yes,
it does not necessarily mean that it can still go on until it gets to 1 hour. It's not assured. It can reverse from 15 minutes. I don't know whether that's
no,
what you're saying.
It's not going to reverse. The thing is this. See,
see.
There, for my own trading style, there are clues I watch out for, which gives me clarity. Like now, I just said something here. I saw we have a falling wedge on 15 minutes. That is very clear. And I'm seeing what is forming here more like an inverse head and shoulder. With this area is a range. If price breaks out above, there's a possibility of it to buy. But on 1 hour, that clear explanation is not there. So if it's not there on 1 hour, I can't trade it on 1 hour. I won't assume. If at all I want to trade it on 1 hour, then I actually still want to make sure that price breaks out above this box.
That's 1 hour.
And RSI clearly moves above 50, because on 1 hour, RSI is still below 50.
Yes, sir.
So I want to make sure that RSI actually crosses above 50. If at all I want to trade it on 1 hour. So you have to make sure your conditions, at least to a large extent, they are met. Even if you are using another
Thank you very much, sir. God bless you. Amen. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. ED is asking me to check EU. Euro USD is in a range at the moment. Price is ranging. But what I can see with clarity for now is a symmetrical triangle forming on the 4-hour, and that will be a swing setup. So it's a swing setup. It may span the entire week. If price breaks to the upside, is a buy. If it breaks to the downside, it's a sell. That's all I can give on the EU for now. The dollar index. If you observe, I didn't talk about the dollar index because most of the dollar pairs are not giving any serious clarity, including the dollar index itself. I'm not getting much clarity. Maybe as the week progresses, we may have some clarity as regards its direction, but at the moment, I can't give any analysis on the dollar index for now. All right. I think I've attended to all the requests here. We're going to end the analysis session now. So watch out in your groups. I'll send the link to the recorded version. I encourage you to watch it and use it for educational purpose to learn how to analyze the market and be able to do these things by yourself. That's the goal. The goal of PU Prime is to empower you with trading education to make you, a professional trader by yourself, to generate signals by yourself, to be analyzing the market all by yourself. That's the goal. We're not just giving you the fish, we're teaching you how to catch the fish. Don't forget to join us for all our programs in the course of the week. Online training session Monday, Wednesday by 4 p.m. and physical training session on Tuesdays and Thursdays, both at our Abuja and Lagos offices. All right, I'll sign out here. Trade safe and have a great week ahead. Bye-bye.